Hey everybody, welcome back to I Know a Guy. If you're new here, my name's Anthony. I'm a business profit advocate. On this show, we interview entrepreneurs, business owners, professionals, and just people doing cool things. For example, today we're meeting with Rick DellaRatta. As the founder of Jazz for Peace, Rick has used the universal language of music to empower over 850 causes worldwide, sharing an inspiring journey from 9/11 to becoming one of today's most impactful cultural voices. How you doing today, Rick?
Pretty good, Anthony. Good to be with you. Thanks so much.
Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on. I liked our conversation the other day, and you have a very unique story. I haven't heard anything quite like it at all. So I was excited to share that with everybody. So, what can you tell us about yourself? Where are you calling in from? Where are you at?
I'm here in Times Square. It's like this middle, nobody doesn't know where I live. You know what I mean? All those pictures you see, it's like I see them in the New York, you see them like blasted all over, and I'm like, that's 2 blocks from here. That's like I could get there in 3 minutes. Somebody interviewed me from Tampa just 2 days ago, and she told me how she worked for many years at the Toys R Us. It's a giant, it's like their flagship Toys R Us, and it has a Ferris wheel in it. And it's 3 minutes from me. You know what I mean? And whenever the kids visit me, I take them over there. Want to ride on a Ferris wheel inside a store? Yeah. I'm in the middle of, Bedlam.
Yeah, yeah, I think like every third movie you watch has a Times Square scene. So everybody's seen it multiple times. So we all
Yeah,
know
it's
where you're at.
not my favorite part of New York City per se, because I'm a New Yorker. I like the nooks and crannies and stuff, but it is a central, everybody in the world knows this part of New York City. That I
Okay.
can say that.
So what is your favorite part? Not to give away secrets or anything that's too,
No,
but what's your favorite
I'll
part?
I'll be honest with you. I've lived in numerous areas. I've lived on the top of Upper Central Park, right across from Central Park West, right across from Central Park, near the top of the park. I've lived even in commute. I've lived in Jersey City, where you catch a little path train to come into the city. But my favorite part to live is the East Village, and that's where I saw the events of 9/11, because the East Village, I didn't even know it at the time, because New York, there's so many, you don't really realize how proximity everything is. There's so many buildings and stuff, so many things. But the roof of my building in the East Village was less than a quarter of a mile from the World Trade Center. Even though it seemed like it was a long ways away to me, because they give them different names, the different areas, but it was close. It's down that way. And
Mm.
I love that for living. I love the neighborhood. It has a vibrancy. It has a lot of, it doesn't have so much touristy stuff, like this has. And not to complain. I mean, I love it here. I'm just saying, if you want me to be picky, I really do like the East Village. If you want to get picky.
No, no, I was curious. I've never been there, so I'm always looking for advice on, places to check out and things to do. So that's
I
awesome.
mean, when you come, you'll see, you'll end up where I am. But I'm just saying, the real New Yorkers, if you're with a New Yorker like me, if you call me up when you come, I might take you to some cool little place in the East. So some little places that only the New Yorkers know.
That's good to know because you guys keep some secrets and it's nice to get a behind the scenes look. So that's awesome. So, you're a world-renowned jazz artist, you're a philanthropist and an entrepreneur, and you founded Jazz for Peace. What can you tell us? What is Jazz for Peace?
Well, you know, what I can tell you is that it kind of founded itself in a sense, because I had written a poem watching the events of 9/11. I called the poem Jazz for Peace, and trying to live up to the words of the poem, I ended up, doing all of these things that Jazz for Peace is well known for. But what is Jazz for Peace? We would give it little slogans along the way, like help those who are helping others would be a slogan, and that was for our benefit concert series, where we're helping an outstanding cause. And by helping an outstanding cause, the outstanding cause is helping others. We're reaching all of their outreach without, going and trying to help them individually. We're helping the cause and hoping the cause is reaching all of those people. So it's little things like that make up what Jazz for Peace is. What I think it is a redefinition of peace. It's redefining peace by taking all of the contributions from Gandhi and from this one and that one, Mandela and all these great people, Martin Luther King, and taking the baton from them and running further around the track. And it's redefining peace by basically saying that if through the arts and culture, we can cross boundaries and appeal to anyone on any side of any issue, and then bring them together through the things that they actually do agree upon, because we've already found common ground through the arts and culture with them, through the music. We can appeal to them, and then next thing you know, don't you guys both care about children? Yes. Don't you care about they have all these things so we do it through common ground. We find ways to do the opposite of, what I saw on that day of 9/11.
Yeah, and you mentioned, writing a poem after 9/11. So going from that to empowered over 850 causes worldwide, that's quite a journey. What can you tell us about, from the day seeing, the probably the biggest event in, at least my lifetime, most Americans' lifetimes, to being able to help, like I said, 850 different causes. What does that journey look like?
Well, here's what it looks like. It's like one step that leads to another, that leads to another, that leads to another. And what I've learned from it is that I can tell anybody is, hey, you know what? If you take one positive step, that will lead to another positive step, to another positive step. And so if you're not really sure where to go, what your path is, what to do, just take a positive step and then see what the next positive step that leads to, because that's all that happened here. Basically, I wrote a bunch of words down while I was watching the events of 9/11. And then I noticed that the words I was writing down came from all the positive things that I had learned from how the arts and culture can make a difference in our lives, and how it can cross paths. It can cross barriers of, race and religion and creed and culture and, proximity and every kind of barrier the arts could, and culture and music and the art form of jazz could cross. So here I was with this poem. What should I do with it? I don't know. But eventually that will be revealed. And when they opened up the country again, like about 2 weeks later, I was headed down to a jazz festival that I was headlining at. And I contacted them and said, hey, we're all good. The country's open. Get on the flight. Grab that flight. Get down here. I said, well, how many people are going to be there? They said, well, it's going to be 8,500. And they're all going to be here because they can't wait to get out of their houses. And, you're going to be the headliner, so they're all going to hear you. So I was like, well, what am I going to do? Here I'm in with the poem. I guess I'll read it. So I read the poem for all those people. That news trickled all the way back up from Savannah, Georgia, back to New York again. And I had something in upstate New York, and they said, gee, that was amazing. You read that poem, and oh my God, what are you going to do for our show? Maybe you'll put it to music. Is there any chance you'll put it to music by our show? And then I was like, wow, okay, well, if you're going to put the idea in me, I can't think of a better idea than the one you just gave me. So I put it to music for that show. And then the press came out. DellaRatta starts out concert with Jazz for Peace, and this is his response to the attacks of 9/11. And all of a sudden, I was launched out of a cannon. What am I going to do next? Well, next I figured, well, I'm going back to New York City after this concert. I'll probably do some little concerts and call them Jazz for Peace. Well, the next thing you know, I started to realize that there's got to be a handful of outstanding causes, maybe 13 or 14 or 15, in New York City, 18 million people. There's got to be a few. I didn't realize there were over 80,000 registered nonprofits just in New York City. Now, you would think that would be enough to solve every single problem 10 times over, except that all nonprofits are not the same. But if I could find an outstanding cause that really who they said they were and means what, puts their mission statement and really wants to solve the problem they're claiming, hey, I could try to help them. So I started doing them around New York City. And that was convenient for me because all I had to do was either walk or get on a subway, or, I could get to where I was going and play these little concerts and help these outstanding causes. We even had a basement of a youth hostel that dedicated the space to us to do this. And everyone would come and go downstairs, and I'd play the concert every Saturday. I had like 2 or 3 I was helping, and then I would do a couple during the week here and there. And the next thing you know, I showed up to one of them, and there was a letter waiting for me from the mayor of New York City at that time, who was Michael Bloomberg. And when I saw the words that he wrote in that letter, I knew that, oh my God, this guy means business. He wants me to keep going. He thinks it's fantastic. And I have an international mission, so I better stop playing around here and just, kidding myself that I'm just going to do this around New York City, maybe get across the state, at least say I was somewhere outside of town, So as I started traveling around the United States, eventually I ended up in Chicago. And when I got there, there was a letter from Barack Obama waiting for me. And this just kept going and going, I started going international. And when I got to Kenya, there was a letter I received it eventually from the Prime Minister of Kenya. So I started to get them from Brazil, from here, from there, as I started going. And as I was going, the events started piling up. They started to get into the hundreds. And we would receive letters from every single event. They would send us something afterwards in their own words, telling us how much they appreciated, how much they liked it, how much it meant to them, and that it was really a part of a worldwide movement. I know you'd have to read their words. So we took their words and we put it on a web page, and it's called jazzforpeace.wordpress.com. That's the page. And for this page, you would just add a /about. And if you do that, you'll be on a page. You don't have to listen to me for the rest of your life, because it's all the words of these hundreds, and you'll never get to the bottom either. You get a prize if you ever make it to the bottom. That's because no one's ever made it. But you'll just see hundreds and hundreds of testimonials from the actual outstanding causes, from Ann Arbor, Michigan to Helsinki, Finland to, forget it. I don't even know. So many countries.
Yeah, I liked what you said. Early saying that, take your next steps, and that's across medium, that's, taking a positive taking a positive step. And that kind of resonated with me because there's a book series that I've loved and I've read, and one of the quotes in it kind of synergizes really well with that, where it's, what's the most important step a man can take in his life? And it's always the next one. So that goes right in there, like you said. I think it crosses mediums. It's not just jazz, it's not just literature, it's human nature, right? We're all discovering it. We're all putting it to whatever medium resonates best with us. So I really like that. And then you mentioned, you've received praise from global figures like Barack Obama. So you've surpassed over 1 million weekly social media impressions. How do you see Jazz for Peace continuing to inspire people in the digital age?
Well, one of the ways is what you just brought up. The reason that we received over 1 million impressions in a week on social media was because of this book here. It's called Paving the Path for Peace Through Music, was starting to come out, and it was kind of stuck at Amazon. I don't know what they were doing over there. Maybe they were reading it, but in the book, unfortunately, I was being honest and calling out some things that I was concerned about. And one of them was social media, because, they were doing some things where there's a lot you can do on social media. I mean, everybody knows you can shadow ban, and you can just only show a post to certain people and not let other people see it. And there's all kinds of stuff you can do. But what I was concerned about was, don't do that stuff with peace, because we need peace. Our species needs peace. If you go anywhere in the world, there's no country you're going to go to where you run into the people and they say, no, we give us war. And, they all want peaceful resolutions. They want, they want things. So don't shadow ban and block messages of peace and then promote the opposite. So I was saying that in my book, and it was stuck in there. And then all of a sudden, my messages that I knew were important and I knew people wanted to read, because Jazz for Peace had learned a lot. One of the things we had done, Anthony, is we had brought Israeli, Palestinian, and American musicians together and did a concert at the United Nations. And the first time I saw the importance of that was when I received that letter from Barack Obama, and he talked about that event. Not everyone was talking about it. It took a long time to resonate with people. But, he wrote about it. And then I got a letter in Florida from a congressman, and he wrote about it. He said, that is one of the most significant cultural events of our time, what you did over there in the United States. And I started hearing from these different people referring to that letter in our list of achievements. And so I actually had, working with Israelis and Palestinians, the fact was I brought them to a point where they were both in favor of a Jazz for Peace proposal. They're still in favor of it. I just can't get these guys to look at it. But anyway, while I had that going on, all of a sudden my post got kind of unblocked or whatever, they got lifted. And man, I started to get massive amounts of impressions on posts from my own personal posts, from Jazz for Peace, from our volunteers even. And I was watching it go crazy, really. And I said, if this gets over 1 million, I'm going to document it, because who the heck's going to believe me? Nobody believes half the stuff Jazz for Peace has done anyway, because we're kind of boxed into a certain set of, limitations. And we don't realize that, when it comes to good deeds, the sky is really the limit. Anybody out there could do something great at any moment. So if we gave everyone a chance. But this got lifted, and sure enough, I get a message from LinkedIn that says you have achieved over 1 million views. And so I just screenshotted exactly what LinkedIn, I took their own, it's actually jazzforpeace.org/1million.pdf, I believe is the exact address. And it's just screenshots from LinkedIn verifying that amazing amount of impressions over 1 week. That's when we decided to have the vote, because we figured if there's 1 million people seeing us a week, LinkedIn will let us have a vote that's 2 weeks long. A lot of people are going to look at this. So we're going to have a chance for people to weigh in and say, hey, are you on the right track or not? And that proposal was voted 96% in favor of the Jazz for Peace proposal. To continue on the path they were on was only 4%. And then to escalate was another choice. That got 0. And since then, we've escalated that conflict. That conflict's been escalated with 0 people wanting it. So I have a new famous quote. My old famous quote, if you type into your Google, Rick DellaRatta famous quote, you'll hear a quote, very simple. It's, if we fill our souls up with our greatest qualities, artistry, intellectuality, humanity, these qualities all collectively, will have a better chance at avoiding the behavior that leads to destruction. But my new quote, if I can even remember it, is, sometimes the will of the people should be considered, because A, governments are not always right, and B, the will of the people is not always wrong. So there you go. I think there's 2 good reasons to consider the will of the people, and they may just be right with the Jazz for Peace proposal for the Middle East. I mean, we've brought Israelis and Palestinians together, and we worked with them on this project, and they voted together on the project. So I don't know. Maybe it's good enough to take a look at.
Yeah, for sure. Sounds like it would be. So as both an artist and an entrepreneur, how do you balance your creative passions and the demands of running such a globally impactful organization?
Well, one little trick I'll tell you, and I try to tell nonprofits this, they really like when they hear this. When we work with volunteers, we have needs and we have things that we feel like we need to do. But what I do is I try to find out what the volunteer passionate about, and then I just forget about what we need, and I try to direct the volunteer to what they're the most interested in, even if it's not the most thing we need the most. Because if they get interested and passionate about something and they're enjoying themselves and they really like what they're doing, that's going to go a lot further than trying to stick them in something that they might not be so skilled at or so passionate about or whatever. And then eventually, they might fizzle out because, they feel like they're not putting their talents where their needs, putting a round peg in a round hole, basically, is what what they won't feel like. So little secrets like that I learned along the way.
Okay. So, working globally, dealing with, nonprofits and different organizations, who are good power partners for you? Who do you synergize well with? Who are you both able to go out and kind of help the same types of people, just in slightly different ways?
I'll tell you, someone asked me this, and it's a really cool site for entrepreneurs, and it's called enterprisezone.cc. So just enterprise zone, and then instead of .com.org, it's .cc. And you would type my name into the search bar and you'd see me, but you could type in, what's that guy, Branson? You could type in any entrepreneur, you can type his name in, and they ask you 100-word question. They ask you a question, they only give you 100 words to answer it. And this is really cool, so people can get concise answers. They don't have to spend a lot of time. And one of the ones they asked me was your question, and my answer was, I'm interested in outstanding causes that are willing to follow easy guidelines. So those are the ones I'm interested in, because, I might be passionate about clean air or clean water. Another one of our volunteers might be passionate about the environment, the wildlife, the problems the injustices of the world. We might be individually, but who do we want to work with? I want to work with someone who is willing to follow our easy guidelines, because that's why we have that page that I told you about that everyone looks at and says, this sounds too good to be true. Well, if you follow our easy guidelines, you're in the too good to be true world of all of those previous grant recipients that we got those testimonials of. And we're probably going to get one from you. I mean, it's a high percentage play just because you're willing to follow our easy guidelines. So you could have the greatest mission statement and the greatest this and the greatest that. And you could have something that I'm not even that familiar with, but you're passionate about, and it's doing some kind of a good service to somebody. Boy, I'm on the side of the one that wants to follow the easy guidelines.
For those people, what's the best way for them to reach you?
The best way to reach me, if you want me to be honest, you could send an email to info@jazzforpeace.org. And you can say whatever you want. You could say, I watched Anthony's podcast and you played something at the end, and I love the questions, and I just want to know if you could help our outstanding cause. It could be anything, and we could start. And that's like literally a little seedling to grow what we call an empowerment tree. But you can find me at jazzforpeace.org or rickdellaratta.com if you just want to find out about me. Or you could even type Rick DellaRatta famous quote into Google or something like that, and start your journey that way.
Perfect. And I know from, previous interviews and other places you've spoke, you do like to leave people with a little something at the end. So I think you had something prepared for us.
Well, hopefully I'm going to try to back up all that I've been saying. Now, we don't know if jazz is very spontaneous and no one knows. I don't even know what I'm going to play, but we do get requests, and we got a request for a very old song. I have to even look up how old this song is. It's from my first CD, and it's called A New Kind of Love. And then tomorrow I'm doing something for Dizzy Gillespie. It's the wife of the Dizzy Gillespie's piano player. So I'm gonna throw a little bit of that into a little story about Dizzy Gillespie, because I used to be his opening act and MC. So I'll try to combine the two of those into something, and we'll soon find out what that is. Okay.
Absolutely.
He made his name in bebop. He played a style that swung in a new way. But many folks said that it wasn't music, it was just a bunch of wrong notes, but he stuck to it. He let time prove them wrong, and just when they thought they had figured him out, he took a trip over to Cuba, and it was a big step for Latin jazz, and we proved the We're good thriving chubbies in love through music. He's with messages. Remember, there's Ben Horn with stuff on the face. Then got a puffy when he played his trumpet. That is why they called him Cheeks. If the nightingales could sing like you, they'd sing much sweeter than they do, 'cause you brought a new kind of love to me. If the Sandman brought me dreams of you, I'd wanna sleep my whole life through, 'cause you brought a new kind of love to me. I know that I'm a slave and you're a queen, but still you can understand that underneath it all you're a maid, and I am only a man. I could work and slave the whole day through if I could hurry home to you, 'cause you brought a new kind of love to me. I know that I'm a slave and you're a queen, but still you can understand that underneath it all you're a maid, and I am only a man. I could work and slave the whole day through if I could hurry home to you, 'cause you brought a new kind of love to me. Yes, you brought a new kind of love to me.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Figured out how to pin it halfway through, so we got we got both angles there. So that's awesome.
Cool.
If anyone would like to meet Rick, I absolutely recommend reaching out to him, sending me an email, connect with him. Just try and do better in the world, whether it's through jazz, whether it's through whatever medium resonates with you. But definitely have that conversation. If you're a little shy and you prefer a three-way introduction, reach out to me. I'm happy to make that introduction for you. If anybody out there would like to be interviewed as well, feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to have all of Rick's links in the chat, as well as my link tree as well, so you can reach out to either and or both of us. But other than that, I really appreciate you taking the time, coming on, having this conversation with us, kind of sharing your story. It's super impactful. I think more and more people need to hear it. And yeah, I appreciate you playing something for us. It's a good way to start my day. So I really appreciate it. But let's all get out there, do some more good, and meet some more people. All right.